Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. And today I want to share with you guys another review of a product that I reviewed, I don't know, probably a couple months ago. And this is a car stereo that I've installed in my Toyota Solara by Acoutik. And it's a very interesting unit. I discovered these units probably about a year ago, and I reached out to Acoutik, being that I've used, that I have purchased and used their amps in two of my vehicles now for the last couple years. And the only reason I don't have it in a third is because I bought something else previously. And you know, I love that their car audio gear, absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I reached out to Monica over at Acoutik, and she was nice enough to send me one of their double DIN head units, which is actually very unique design. I discovered this whole style while web surfing one day on eBay, and I was like, wow, that thing is really innovative. And again, it's going to be specific to the vehicle you want to put it in. This deck is not going to work in some vehicles just based on the cosmetic factor. But I'll show you, and you guys will see what I'm talking about in just a second. So without further ado, let's check out the deck. And I'm just going to go through a couple of things that I like about the deck and a few of the negative things about the deck that I don't like, that I wish they would change. And if they haven't, they should change on their future models. Okay, so here is the head unit, all right? And this one here is basically a double DIN head unit that is actually a 10.1 inch screen attached to it. Now again, when I talk to you guys a little bit about, this deck won't work in every car, it's just because it has such a large overhang over the double DIN. You're not going to be able to put this in some cars. It might look funny in some cars. You don't want to be covering up all the things that you need to access. In my case, it worked out because although it covers up some of these knobs a little bit here, I can still access the knobs and it doesn't look horrible. Now, one thing about this, it would have been nice if they had a feature on this where you could actually attach the screen in a couple different points. But this, basically, the overhang happens beneath the deck, not on top of the deck. The top of the screen is flush with the top of the double DIN unit. So let me go ahead and pop that off. To remove it, you just basically press the button on top and pull towards you, and it snaps off. And you can see that's what it looks like underneath here. You have your DVD/CD slot. I don't know if anybody uses CDs anymore, but it's there if you want to use it. Only downside, it's not a motorized face. You actually have to take the deck or the faceplate off. And then of course you have a standard SD card right here. I believe it'll support up to 32 gigabytes. Don't quote me on that. It's either 32 or 64. But it's great the fact that it has also on the side of the screen a USB slot, which I have a 32 gig SanDisk card in there. So it's really nice. If it does support 32 on each, you have 64 gigs of music at your fingertips at any given time. I need to upgrade this one here because this one here, I'm actually using a micro SD card with an adapter, which is 32 gigs, and I use this in some of my other devices. So I just want to use it today just for the review, for purpose of the review. But yeah, it'd be great to actually get another 32 in here and 64 gigs. You pretty much bring your whole music collection with you. So let me go ahead and pop the faceplate on. Now again, when I talked about the mounting, this would have been perfect if it was mounted like this and the overhang was on top. You'd just be covering the vents a little bit. You still get your air bypassing around them, and it would have cosmetically looked a lot better. But like I said, it's going to be vehicle specific. This may not work in all cars. They do make a single DIN version of this, and let me just pop that off again just to show you one more thing. When installing this, because you're overhanging things, the deck does have to be installed past the dashboard, which I generally leave the faceplate on all the time. But if you want to take it with you, you can. To prevent theft, I would do that if I was in an area I didn't feel comfortable parking in. And it does come with this cover, this trim ring, which I did have to shave down a little bit to get it to clear the dash, but it was pretty easy. My dad just ripped it on the table saw to get it to snap on because it was a little bit too deep. But what's nice is that when you look at the deck from the side, you don't see the cage anymore. So that was well thought out on Acoutik's side. I actually didn't see this in the box when I installed it, and I said, man, you can see the cage from the side. I don't like the way that looks. I was going to paint the cage black. Looked in the box, and they had this. So that's fantastic. Kudos to them for thinking about the cosmetics there. So let's go ahead and slap that on. You have a couple volume knobs on top, a power button, and of course your source button, which I don't really use. I only use the volume buttons. As far as the deck is concerned, big, beautiful. It's not an HD screen, but you don't really need it on something this size. The picture quality is completely acceptable. And just to go ahead and show you guys, I'll go ahead and go home. And I have a Pink Floyd DVD in there now. We'll go ahead and click that. Excuse me, my allergies are going to get into me today a little bit. Load time is pretty good. Again, this does have to be hooked up to your parking brake. However, I've added a hidden switch under here which simulates your parking brakes. This thing will be on when you're driving. And so there's your screen size. I'm not going to show you too much of the DVD, of course. We'll just go back home. And you have radio, again, disc/CD, Bluetooth, USB, auxiliary in, and a audio video in. Auxiliary in is kind of nice if you want to go ahead and hook up a backup camera to it, although I don't really have any real need to do that, although it's something I might do at a later date. I'll go back to USB. USB loads pretty fast, much faster than my Pioneer deck. The Pioneer would take close to a minute to load up. This loads pretty quick. As far as features, pretty bare bones when it comes to features. It does have 300 watts by 4 max power and Bluetooth, so you can use it as a hands-free kit, but the 300 watts I'm using external amps by Power Acoustic as well. I'm running a 5000D, a 250 by 2 2-channel amp, and I'm also running the 5000D sub amp with 3 10-inch subwoofers in this. Am I actually getting a delivery now? No. Good, I'm not. Jeez. Alright, so as far as features are concerned, what I mainly use this for is the fact that it's got USB and, again, the SD card. Because all my music now, like most people, we all use digital nowadays. So it's great to have your whole collection with you. If we go home, again, radio, I'm not going to walk you through that. Let's go through settings. If you want to go ahead and check out the settings, you have sound, very minimal settings, EQ, balance fader, beep, loud level, subwoofer, on or off, and low pass frequency and subwoofer level, which I'll talk about in just a second. If we go back, you have your display, backlight high, which is what I keep it on, and backlight time. This is nice if you're using this at night and maybe you're driving down the freeway and you don't want to be distracted. You can set this to turn off after 10, 20, and 30 seconds and just go dark, and you just press the screen to reactivate it. That's a nice feature. Radio, some radio settings in there, not too much. General, auto connect, clock display and clock settings, and DVD, the TV type. Not really much you're going to be adjusting in there. So with that being said, let's go home again, and to access it's kind of weird how they did this. To access your micro SD card or your SD card, you have a separate button on the bottom here, as opposed to how you access it on the for your USB. Kind of weird they did it that way. I'm not really sure why they did. And that's basically the same look as you're going to get using a USB. So let's go into USB. Hopefully. You'll see it loads pretty quick. And so, alright, so this is what it's going to look like when you're playing a CD or music through a USB or an SD card. Let's talk a little bit about some of your features. You have intro, your repeat functions here, which is pretty much standard on all decks. Your EQ, bare bones, bass and treble, that's it. As far as balance, like any other car, left, right, front to rear. And that's really about it. Very, very basic. Okay, so let's talk about what I don't like about the deck, or what I do like. Big, beautiful display, very easy to use. It sounds good. It distorts about 36 is what I set my max to, and I've adjusted my amps to not have any kind of clipping going on or anything like that. Big, beautiful display, and again, it is subjective, but it looks pretty cool. Very similar to what some of the newer cars are having. Some of the Mercedes with the big tablet kind of mounted on the dash. It seems to be a trend going on in cars now, is bigger displays. Now, with that being said, let's talk about what I don't like. Big display, nothing you can do to customize it. So you get this big, beautiful display and nothing, you can change nothing on it. You don't have any album art, you can't add any album art, and very minimal controls. Home screen, same thing. What do we have a home screen? You have time, this city background. You can't customize any of this. What you see is what you get. It would have been really nice to be able to customize the background on some of this stuff, at least with a picture of what you want to put on there, Another negative thing about it is that you have this big, beautiful display here, and it's just really used with big words and buttons. The most important thing here is to be able to access the folders, and I don't like the way the folder layout is. Basically, if you go ahead and click that, it separates everything just under one folder. So it's one folder per album. You can't set this as like 50 Cent, click the folder, go into another level of the folder and see like his different albums. They're all going to be scattered throughout one folder. And so that's something I really don't like. The other thing I don't like is the fact, big, beautiful display, you hardly have any information. You only have about 12 to 15 characters. So the way these are labeled, I have to basically relabel all the stuff specifically on this drive for this particular deck, whereas my other decks I've had, it shows everything, and if it can't fit it, it scrolls. Look at all this wasted space they did here. To me, that's asinine. I don't know why they would make this thing so big and not have any of the information. That's the whole point of having a big display. Big, easy to read, easy to pick, and it just sucks that you don't even get the full album. I mean, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 characters, and I think that's going to be the same on anything. So we go back here. I don't even know what some of these albums are because I can't actually see them. And so right now, with all the stuff on here, sorry, I deleted a folder. So The Weeknd, I actually have that label with the album. We can't even see what that is. It won't display them. You have to specifically label these. And 11 characters is not enough to label artist and album name. It would be nice if you had the folders and you could say, oh, well, what, this is the Get Rich or Die Trying album. Oh, well, let me go folder back. Oh, it's under 50 cents. You know what it is. Here, you have no idea what it is. So that's a real negative thing with this deck. I have to say, I hope it's something they've improved on their other decks. Just for me, that's a deal breaker. The other huge thing about this deck is the fact that if you want to control the sub and use your sub volume, if you try to do that, you have to go back home to do that. You can't do it on the fly. So you have to adjust it, come back, and then replay the song, which to me is ridiculous on why they did that, because you want to be able to adjust the sub while you're listening to it and be able to quickly turn it on or off or up and down. You have to completely leave the menu, go into a different menu, and stop playing the song. So that's a real bad quality or lack of quality on this deck. So other thing, and this is another big deal, but not as big deal as those other two I mentioned. This right here, if you're playing a song, and we all have heard a song, we get, you know, let's say let's go into the song here. Let's say we get about halfway through the song, and we're like, ooh, man, I want to start that from the beginning again. With this, you have to click back. It takes you to the previous song. Then you have to go forward. I've never seen a deck, any deck, CD player, DVD player, home player, portable player, I've never seen any deck do that before, which is really strange on why they did that. And I don't think it's a setting, because it doesn't matter what you have this on. So really bad glitch in the software they're using on this. And now maybe there's a firmware upgrade. Maybe down the road they'll do a firmware upgrade, and hopefully their new decks don't have that. That's a real bad. Three really bad qualities on that deck are those. Those really annoy me. Now that may not annoy you. It may not be a big deal for you to say, oh, I gotta go forward again. Yeah, okay. But to not be able to adjust your bass on the fly, which for me, my bass knob here is right over here, and I can control it that way, but if you didn't have a bass knob, you're not going to be able to. If you depend upon this deck to say, hey, I don't want to have to wire up a bass knob, I don't want to see a bass knob, the deck's got subwoofer control, perfect. Well, you're not going to be able to use it the way you think you're going to be able to use it. I've never seen a deck do that before. But so those are the three real negative things, again, that I have to say about the deck, is the lack of customization on the home screen, the lack of media information, the way they lay out their folders, the track advance, and the subwoofer control. Four big negative things about this deck. But if that doesn't bother you, if those things, again, that may not bother everybody. If you're just looking for a deck that maybe you don't have a sub, maybe it's just something you're going to throw into a car and you really want the ability to just have a big screen and to you know, watch movies or whatnot, then this is going to be a great deck for you, because overall the sound quality is pretty darn good. It sounds every bit as good as anything else I've had in this car by any of the other mainstream brands. And you have a big, beautiful display, and I think it is very unique. You don't see a lot of cars with aftermarket decks with a big, giant display like that, unless they've done something extremely customized by installing a tablet in there or whatnot, or an iPad or whatever. But I think it's a great unit. They do make this unit in a smaller size, a 9-inch screen size, and they make it in a single DIN. So if you have, let's say you have a vehicle with a single DIN, an older vehicle, and you don't have the option, you don't want to have the fold-out screen, the motorized screen, which is really only about 7 inches. This is a great option for somebody who is like, hey, maybe you got an old pickup truck, or you got something with just, again, a single DIN, and you want a big, beautiful display. This gives you the ability to have a big, beautiful display, a DVD player, out of a single DIN unit. Again, mine is double DIN, but it is a very, very nice looking display. Compared to my Pioneer, it's very, very basic. And if you're not looking for a lot of features, then this is a great deck for you. But this deck would have been A+ if they just would have fixed the 4 things that I mentioned. That would have been a huge difference in me rating this deck a lot higher than unfortunately I'm gonna have to rate it. But again, like I said, if those things don't bother you, then you'll absolutely love it. It does come with a remote control as well, which I just want to go ahead and show you. There it is right there. Pretty basic. You have your major features. It does have open and tilt, which I thought mine was broken. This does not have open or tilt on it because the deck does not have a motorized screen, so that's obviously a universal remote. But the deck is under $200 and you do get a lot of bang for your buck, and it does sound pretty good. Alright guys, well, let me know what you guys think about the deck. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll give you my best answer. I do like the fact that it's pretty much clutter-free, with the exception of this would have been really nice to be able to have customized this with like your own picture, or maybe have a spectrum analyzer on there, picture your car, a logo, something. No customization is really unacceptable for me on that. Alright guys, well once again, thank you so much for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Do let me know what you guys think about this deck, whether positive or negative, as long as you're respectable or respectfully comment. If you're nice about it, your comment will get posted. If you're going to leave something absolutely negative and inappropriate, then naturally your comments will not be posted. Alright guys, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more. I'll be putting up more